What's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It is the 31st of January in the year 2020. Or at least that's what they would lead us to believe. You see what I'm saying? At any rate, I started early, whatever. And Catnipped says, my, woo, indeed. You're on the right track and you work hard, blah, blah. Thank you. You are being sprayed. Laciest laced. What's up? L 1978. Teresa C. What is up? I like it when the chat's small like this. It's manageable, like my hair. All right. Mama, me. Mama, Corona. Boo-doo-doo-doo. I get it now. Okay, I get it. There you go. What's up, brother? Yeah, you guys are getting whacked out there too, huh? What a crazy bunch of coincidences. What a crazy month this has been. Seriously. I mean, just this month. We're talking about these guys getting ready. Like, how many times have we told you that these dudes are ready? When I say we, I mean me and the voices in my head. How many times have we told you that these guys are ready? They're ready. But it's a huge, in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others that would do this for a living, military, law enforcement, etc., taking over the entire world, the new world order. It's a big move. You know what I mean? Let me remind you of something. Let's go down memory lane real quick, shall we? Oh, excuse me. I just had a salad, raspberry vinaigrette. Whoops, my butt. You remember this from 2016? This is when I actually called Robert De Niro an official douchebag. I apologize for the language, but they're just words, people. Remember this. March 29, 2016, Robert De Niro was promoting the movie Vaxxed. Do you guys remember this? Because I do, because I was pissed, because being Italian, and for those that think that my last name is LeBlanc, just because it's in an email doesn't mean it's my last name. My last name has been put out all over the internet. It's no big deal, but it ain't French. So there's that. When Robert De Niro came out for the movie Vaxxed, the documentary, it was awesome. And then he had one of those coming to Jesus moments where somebody took him in the back room and said, "Hey, Robert, if you ever want to make really crappy movies like The Irishman or anything like that, you better change your mind." And he did. My point being is back in 2015, 2016, people were starting to wake up to the correlation between I take my child to the doctor, he gives them an extraordinary amount of vaccines full of heavy metals and whatever the F else, and then my child's never the same again. People started to figure it out. So they had to do an enormous campaign. And when the documentary Vaxxed came out, if you've never seen it, I had it up on my Vimeo channel, you know, the channel that I paid for, and Vimeo took me off. They took me off, no copyright strikes, no nothing. I put the documentary Vaxxed up, the entire thing, and they took me down. Because see these stories, why we're seeing the mainstream news that we're seeing right now all goes back to things like this. How much did we hear anti-vaxxers in 2019? It was constant. It was never ending. It was non-stop. Suddenly, and look at the headlines here. December 4th, 2019. In 2019, they went full court press against anybody daring to tell anybody that vaccines are probably exactly what's related to all the children being damaged, autism, etc., etc. It was put on one of the things we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube. We're not allowed to talk about 9/11. We're not allowed to talk about World Trade Center 7 going down, even though it wasn't hit by a plane. We're not allowed to talk about Sandy Hook being a staged event / drill. We're not allowed to talk about Lenny Posner's son dying not once, but twice. We're not allowed to talk about those things. And vaccines are one of the things we're not allowed to talk about. So we're not going to talk about that. So instead, let's talk about vaccines. How's that sound? Okay, check this out. This is just sheerly, completely, and totally 100% a coincidence that, believe it or not, the show I told you about on Netflix, the documentary called How Do We Save Everyone from a Pandemic, stars Bill Gates and was also funded by Bill Gates. Isn't that a wacky, crazy, unbelievable coincidence that Bill Gates, once again, the guy behind sending people to Africa and other third world countries to their death because the volunteer workers that were going out there to vaccinate these children, well, more of those children were dying and the parents were seeing this and they were killing the volunteers. That didn't make it into the mainstream, but a bunch of us did put that information out there. Do you see what I'm saying? Long story short, Bill Gates has a long affinity with depopulating the earth, killing people, eugenics, etc. It runs in his family. It's a long, long story, but True Stream Media has covered it. James Corbett, the Corbett Report have covered it. You should probably look into it, but you probably don't even need to because you can pretty much tell that he's a life-hating, satanic scumbag. As a matter of fact, he's the one that actually funded Event 201. Event 201 in October of 2019, talking about a pandemic. He was also in the Netflix documentary talking about a pandemic. And then next thing you know, bing, boom, pow. This is tonight's headlines, which is just crazy. But here it is. It is now a public health emergency in the United States. Travel restrictions have been imposed and mandatory quarantines over the coronavirus outbreak. Well, Richie, it's killing people. It's killing people. Well, check this out, okay? Somebody sent me an email and I read it and they're like, Richie, you don't understand how much what you say affects people. Well, believe it or not, I do. I do. Because if what I was saying didn't affect people, they wouldn't have stopped my channel. My channel was going straight up, just like when any channel gets over 100,000, they start getting larger and larger and larger and larger. Mine came to a screeching stop. Mine was demonetized. They've taken my channel down, not once, not twice, not thrice, but 4 times total. But thanks to people like yourselves, quacking and complaining and tweeting and emailing and et cetera, my channel came back, except it's not allowed to grow anymore. Long story short, I'm well aware that whatever I'm saying is pissing people off and whatever I'm saying affects people. People might make their decisions based on what the guy with no front tooth, the asshole with a laptop, the guy that wears a hat every day, even though he has a very full head of hair, what I say affects people. So when I started telling you about the coronavirus being a hoax, well, it was an easy one to see. On the 7th of this month, when I showed you the invisible ink tattoo that could be read remotely with a scan gun like you would scan a box of Fruit Loops or a cup of coffee with, when they came out and said, we can scan and detect if people have gotten their vaccines, I said right there and then, 3 weeks ago, that sounds like something you would do if you planned on doing a pandemic. And then wouldn't you know, here we go. Do you see what I'm saying? Now, also, I spoke at length to somebody that works for Massachusetts General Hospital. When you're really sick and you can afford it and you don't live in Massachusetts, you want to go to Mass General to get fixed. I know people that are physicians and nurses in the state of Virginia, Ohio, California, one in Australia, but I can't verify that. And they're all saying the exact same thing that I'm saying right now. Every single solitary year, we have a new outbreak, except this one's a little different because they're going to run with it. They're going to run with it. They're already using words like mandatory, quarantines, etc. What did I tell you? And here it is. 27,380 people, according to the CDC, died in the United States last year from the flu. And you know what? It wasn't a pandemic. 600, and that's out of 350 million plus Americans that are checked off on the census in the United States. 27,380-ish, whatever it was, but it's a pretty good sized number. But not when you think about how many elderly, how many weak, how many sick people live in the United States. Look at all the drug addicts. Look at all the people that don't live right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. 600 people alleged to have died out of 1.4 billion, and that's affecting us here somehow. It's a flu. It's a flu. But they're using the Hegelian dialectic. They're the ones that invented this particular strain of flu. How do we know? Because they have the patents. We have the patents. Everyone's got the patents. The patents are old news. And then when you see things like, well, geez, I don't know, Bill Gates at event 201. You know what I mean? Bill Gates in a Netflix documentary. Bill Gates here, Bill Gates there. It seems like Bill Gates is everywhere. And what's he talking about? Pandemic, pandemic, pandemic. Turn the page, 2019 goes away, 2020 shows up, and then here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got all the fixins. We're ready for a pandemic. Are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? And then when somebody that is closely tied to a scientist who just sat down with a bunch of people from the Food and Drug Administration where they were literally threatening them, you need to take this off. Stop telling people that simply using hand sanitizer, simple hand sanitizer, will prevent one from getting sick with this simple flu virus. It's just no big deal. When somebody contacts you and gives you all the paperwork and you say to them in a recording that I have still from the day before, January 28th, saying, dude, if this is true, they're going to destroy Purell in the news the next day, January 29th. Purell refuses to acquiesce to the federal government, blah, blah, blah. It's all smoke and mirrors. Long story short, they want to force this mandatory vaccine. It's all they ever talk about. Anti-vaxxers, anti-vaxxers, anti-vaxxers. You tell me you haven't heard that before? What is this going to force people? It's going to make people afraid to not get a vaccine because nobody wants to get the coronavirus and nobody wants to actually do a crumb of research and understand that 600 out of 1.4 million from a flu that was patented in 2015 is ugats. It's no big deal. Almost 30,000 people died last year in the United States from the flu. You know why? People get sick. People die. If you're in bad shape, you die. How many people in your life do you know that are in bad shape if they got sick would die? I know a lot of people. They're going to seize upon this. And I think you can already see that. I mean, what are we, the smartest people in the world? We can predict things like Iraq being shot at by Iran, and then a week later it happens. You know what I'm saying? We can predict things like a pandemic coming. The information has to be out there. If you look at it rationally and reasonably, it all adds up. Everything they're talking about makes absolutely no sense whatsoever at all. But here it is. Here it comes. Here we go. You're going to have to come to a point where you're literally talking shit in the chat, talking shit in the comments, talking to your friends. But when it comes down to brass tacks, you can't take that vaccine. I'm not taking that vaccine. No effing way. No way. I haven't got vaccinated. I don't even know how many years. I think I got a tetanus shot like 30 years ago. I sat at dinner one time and watched everyone in my family take the flu shot, and I wouldn't. Everyone got sick. And I'm talking, I've said this, I've told you the story before. I'm talking, my grandmother almost died. She had to go to rehabilitation, where elderly people go. She got so sick. My aunt and uncle ended up in the hospital. Everybody got so sick. Some of them got hospitalized. I didn't get sick at all. And nobody saw it still. Nobody saw it still. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's unbelievable to me, but this is it. This is absolutely it. And here's the other thing. If this is everything they do is multifaceted. Everything they do is multifaceted. Notice how it's affecting the stock market. Notice the amazing amounts of sixes you're seeing in the mainstream. Everything's being reported with, oh, well, I'm sorry. The Dow dropped 603 points today. You know what I'm saying? Or 2.1%. Look at all the 666s. 30 stocks, 603. 322. I mean, come on, man. You want to see another one? You want to see another flagrant one? 600, I think it was 665 students couldn't go to school today. They called in because they were sick. Let me see if I can find this. Where is it? Come on. Well, here's more anti-vax stuff. I don't know what I did with that story. Stand by. I can't find it. At any rate, it was completely and totally loaded with 322 and 666. This is what they're going to do. This is how they're going to try to. They're going to try to get away with it. I had an email with the YouTuber, The Undertaker. You see him in the chat quite a bit, and he's a good guy. I believe, if I remember the story correctly, he went to a VA hospital, like born again veteran saying right here. He went to a VA hospital, and apparently there wasn't a lot of people there. The woman behind the desk said to him, "People are afraid because of the coronavirus, and there's more people that the mainstream isn't reporting." Yeah, you see, I'm not saying it that way because I literally spoke. Before I made any videos, I spoke to someone who's a 20-year veteran at Mass General, which is a big hospital. This ain't some okey doke little hospital, and three others in three other states. And they're all saying the exact same thing. This is just the same fair porn they put out every year, but they're not seeing the big picture. They're not seeing the larger agenda here, but they're just saying, dude, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as swine flu, avian flu, SARS. You know, every year they come out with one. This year, they're going to make this one take. Do you know what I'm saying? So, at any rate, yeah, it's not even the point. Even if this virus was exactly as you can't do that, dude. I hear you. People like to write their own little home remedies. Make your own videos and tell people to take things. You can't do it here. We get in trouble for that. Oh, you're killing me. Really? My comments on your video. Okay, welcome to censorship, dude. How many times do we got to say Google censors the comment section? I don't know how many times we say it. You're killing me. You're killing me. You're killing me. These guys are going to blame the collapse of the dollar. They're going to do forced quarantines. They're going to try to make everybody get a mandatory vaccination all off the back of this. And I mean, do I really have to remind you how much they went after people that dared talk? Like, imagine being the parent. You bring your perfectly healthy baby to the pediatrician. It gets a bunch of shots. And after that, the child is completely gone to you physically and mentally. And you try to like do the right thing and they go after you. Like, what are you, crazy? What are you, one of those anti-vaxxers? It's unbelievable, man. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it depends. It'll be bad if we stop talking about it. You know what I mean? I don't know if they can pull all this. I don't know how they could pull more internet censorship into this entire influenza scam, but they'll try. I don't know. It's just amazing that like 2020, this is really happening. And this is mainstream news. This is Paul Logan. Look at him and this guy's an influencer. Hey, I'm Paul Logan. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, great. You know what it's amazing. You can show people patents. You can show them documentation from inside corporations that actually have scientists that aren't listening to what the FDA is trying to make them do. And then you got jackoffs like that get millions of views. It's unbelievable. At any rate, what will the penalty be? I would imagine it'll be quarantine or worse. Here's the deal. I don't know how to say this without. Don't let him take you, man. Don't let him take you. That's it. You know what that's it. That is it. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, at some point, the elites have a different vaccine. The elites don't use vaccines. The vaccines were made for us. The elites don't use vaccine. They eat food that they don't poison. They have a whole different world that we're not familiar with, man. Yeah, I wouldn't go to those. Just understand, man. Just understand that this life ain't all there is. Self-sacrifice. That's what I keep thinking, man. Well, that's one way. But the way law enforcement is these days, if they tried to come and take you to prison and you resisted in any manner, they would probably take you out. See what I'm saying? So there's that. We started this hashtag a long time ago, and it's time to really start thinking about it. It's time to really start thinking about it. Don't tread on us. They're stomping all over us, man. When it comes down to it, it's going to be you and what you believe and what you have to answer for, in my opinion. At any rate, Richie from Boston. Here we go. I'm out.